It's Monday, the 13th of October. Actually, this is intended to be a short but rather important video about phone security, as will be taught to a class probably this week or next week. And the crux of it is that today, if you carry your smartphone around with you all the time, as I do, you are laying yourself open to a huge risk in that you may have one or more financial apps on your phone. I'm not talking about credit cards, that's totally separate. So cards in a wallet are a totally separate situation, not to be discussed here. But you may have one or more banking apps on your phone. And if somehow your phone is grabbed from you, especially when it's open and not locked, you could be laying yourself open to a problem in that the thief could perhaps compromise your financial app and just drain your bank account in moments. So what is the solution? The solution is not, as some of my students would say, don't have a banking app on your smartphone, because practically speaking these days you have to install banking apps on your smartphone. Modern banks like Revolut, as just one example, don't have a web interface. And they don't have any branches either. So if you want a bank account with the flexibility of Revolut, other modern banks are available, other challenger banks are available, then you're going to have to install a smartphone app. The answer, quite simply, is this. This is my primary smartphone, which I use on a daily basis. Good cat logo. And this is my soon-to-be obsoleted Google Pixel 4, which is quite an ancient phone by these days since we're on Pixel 10, so it's at least 6 or 7 years old, financial phone. And so the strategy is quite simple. On your main daily driver phone, you install your credit cards or your debit cards in the wallet. That's separate from this conversation. And then you only install on your daily driver phone the financial banking apps you really need. So again, this is slightly outside the scope, but you may have one banking app or one bank account you rely on and use on a daily basis, and you may have other bank accounts which you have savings in. They're more like for high interest savings accounts. There may be national savings in the UK. There may be bonds, there may be trading accounts, something that you don't need to access whilst you're out and about. And the idea is you just limit yourself to the one or say two accounts that you really need to carry around with you, and that's the solution. So to talk about the other solution, this is a Google Pixel 4 phone, and it's one of the earliest phones that had facial recognition on the Google platform. And today I'm just finishing off moving it to my new financial phone, which is, believe it or not, is a Pixel 8 Pro. What a backup phone that is. So these phones, the financial phone never leaves the house, except when I was nervously travelling with it abroad, outside of the UK, for a whole month. So I nervously took it to the airport, nervously took it with me in my hand luggage, and kept it safe in another place, in another country. So except on exceptional circumstances, that financial phone never leaves your home. Obviously, if you've got a safe in your home or you've got some way of physically securing that phone, I would also do that. So that's the solution. But I'd also just like to cover, perhaps for Apple users more predominantly, the basics of phone security so that even this travelling daily phone is protected. So first of all, of course, you need a biometric protection on your phone, meaning it's something that's unique to you. So having a PIN code on your phone as your only means of access is totally unacceptable. And if you've got a phone that doesn't have a biometric facial recognition or fingerprint reader, then I really suggest, and you've got a bank account on your phone, you're nuts. So change your phone if necessary to that basic minimum. I always recommend the Honor 200 Lite phone, which I last paid about 150 GBP for. in the Apple world, you can also have a couple of other things. One is called stolen device protection, and that means to say that if the phone senses that you're away from a known address, it will impose a time limit before you can change things like your iCloud password. So if a robber grabs your phone and you're in a cafe and they try to change your iCloud password because they somehow know your PIN code, they can't do that. And you've got like an hour to check to go to another Apple device and stop things and report the phone as stolen. There's also in the Apple world something called screen time, and screen time allows you to stop making changes to some parts of your iPhone, and you can set a second PIN. So the idea is that you could disable access to the control panel, the settings panel of your iPhone using screen time. So you set a second PIN, which is different to your primary phone PIN. And if for some reason you've been so careless or someone's been so clever as to uncover your iPhone PIN and steal your open phone, the first thing they might try and do is change the PIN, but they'll find out they can't do that because screen time stops them getting into that menu because you've set a second PIN. That's it really. So back to the core argument, which is use your old phone, typically the phone that you last had, as long as it's got biometric protection, as your financial phone. Only travel on a daily basis with your phone, and you're going to travel with that phone having the minimal number of bank accounts. That's it. Thanks very much for watching.